I've seen things that nightmares are made of. Do you believe in ghosts?
Newcastle, Indiana is located 43 miles east of Indianapolis along the Big Blue River. The Delaware Indians were the first inhabitants of the area, followed by the Europeans who settled there in the 1820s. It is named after Newcastle, Kentucky, and is the county seat of Henry County. Its population in the 2010 census was 18,114. Surrounded by agricultural land, the city has been a manufacturing center for automobiles, bricks, bridges, caskets, clothing scales, flour, pianos, and shovels. It is also the birthplace of inventor Wilbur Wright and musician David Lee Roth of Van Halen. Newcastle High School is located next to a Native American mound dated back to 2000 BC. The mound contains depressions that align with the sunrise and sunset during equinoxes and with depressions in other mounds many miles away. The school is home to the largest high school gymnasium in the world, with a capacity of 9,235, and it has produced basketball stars such as Kent Benson and Steve Alford, among others. As with most Indiana towns and cities, Newcastle is also home to a few residents that don't make the census. There are several reportedly haunted locations in the area. One of them, and probably the most well-known, is Thornhaven Manor. Thornhaven Manor, as it was named by current owner Steve Miller because of all the large thorn trees on the property, was built in 1845. This beautiful Italianate home, originally set on a 1,000-acre farm, but now resides on 7 acres of meadows, marshland, and woods. Rich in history, the home is thought to have been a stop on the Underground Railroad, home to some of Newcastle's most prominent and wealthy families, and even the site of a murder. Steve Miller purchased the home with plans to restore it to its original glory and eventually live on the property. Before looking at the property, he had no idea of some of the past residents who still call it home. But it didn't take long before he realized that it was not as empty as he had thought. Even before he had signed the paperwork, he had witnessed several unexplained things at the manor. Once he had the place and started cleaning up, he as well as others continued to have experiences, so he brought in a psychic to go through the manor. She told him that there were 47 spirits in the house alone. Steve has been painstakingly working on the property for a couple of years now, and the activity has continued and picked up along with the work. He now hosts paranormal events and opens Thornhaven to paranormal investigations to help with the high cost of renovating such a large property.
Abolitionists, they didn't believe in slavery, and they were very equal rights between men and women. Southern fought for the North. And there's indications that's part of the Underground Railroad, but we still haven't been able to verify that exactly, just because, for instance, Simon Powell was tried, him against the state of Indiana, and where he was harboring a runaway slave, but he was acquitted. And there's supposedly a tunnel that goes from underneath the kitchen all the way to the north end of the property, and there's also supposed to be another entrance to the second barn that's collapsed. And so right now, if you go in the basement underneath the kitchen, there's like a cistern, and it's like filtered. It's real mushy. And for the longest time, I thought it was just a rumor. People just thought there would be one. But then I had an elderly neighbor come by one day, and he's like, "Oh, he's like, I used to, hang with the Brown boys who lived here." And he's like, "Have you been in the tunnel yet?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, people keep talking about tunnel. What tunnel?" And he's like, "Oh, it's huge. We used to hang out there as kids, And so that kind of for me is like, oh, okay. And he told me where it was and exactly where. He's like, "Oh, they must have filled in the entrance." He's like, "I'm sure it's still there." Yeah, so now it's working my way back that way, cleaning everything out so I can get to it, and then see if the entrance is still there. And I think it's intact because when you go through the property, there's no big dip where you would think of a collapsed tunnel or anything like that. So we'll
Right
see.
there behind Mike's where we seen all the wet footprints.
Yeah, right here, wasn't it? And we see
Which is
that
basically
now,
almost the
too.
same place we found the other ones.
Is it?
Wow.
The other ones were, it was like footstep, and then another footstep, and then another one, and then it like turned around, and was like going back. But it was just the left foot.
That's all we found,
I
was just
wonder
one.
why she's-
Yeah.
And then like one right there.
Yeah,
I
so.
wonder if her
So this little girl, she's the only one who was actually in this house.
yeah.
Here's Chatty. The tinky of this. And then not too long ago, that one, if you guys saw that video, that one went nuts. And I've never seen that before. It wasn't like this. It was
swinging.
like that. Yeah, it was, and as you can see, these are 15-foot swings. And this is during the tour, like right now, where they point out and go, "Does this happen all the time?" And I was like, no, I've never seen thermal image. You probably had seen this thermal image on Ghost Adventures.
Call their name.
And I usually have my little camera and I go, "Now let me look through it." But it's the drawing room.
This is my
Yeah.
first hunt, too.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Easily could have been the room where Ruth Bailey would have been poisoned. Because it would have been used probably as a breakfast room. And so he was poisoned with his morning cup of coffee. This is the original kitchen to the house. And if you look right here, this is the corner. Because back in the days, kitchens weren't attached to your home.
Right.
They were a separate building for fear of fire. So this is actually where the building ended. That was the kitchen. And since then, they've reconnected it with the house. So we have a false wall right here and drywall, where from everything else here is just brick and plaster. And so, as you can see, you've got these, I don't know what these are called. The windows, roof doors. Anywhere you see one of those, that was the,
Transom?
yeah, led to the outside. So this was outside at one point.
Yeah.
And this was outside at one point. So yeah, at one point we were.
So that's staying in here. Immediately.
So this is the servants' quarters. This is where the shadow figure was captured from Ghost Adventures. Came from that wall, over this direction. Even though it is servants' quarters, it's actually nice, I would think. Even though all the servants from the house would have been in here, but it's still nice.
Yeah.
Very nice room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the upstairs parlor, this is where they had the camera over there and the, kept it going in and out, and the REM popping off and everything like that. People, these upstairs rooms, certain people get drawn to certain ones for different reasons. So, it's definitely interesting.
I read about tonight. Yeah.
So this is part of the tower that at one point has been converted to a bathroom. Not quite sure what they would have used it for that. And then these are the stairs that once led up to the top of the tower. But now it's kind of a bit of stairs to nowhere.
Nowhere.
But people still get some interesting. Another bedroom. I think this has been the bedroom where the kids would have been. They had 4 children. Technically, this house was a 2-bedroom, which is interesting considering how long rooms. Yeah, because you had the master, you had this bedroom, upstairs parlor, servants' quarters, so they had 2 bedrooms. And remember this spacious walk-in closet?
Yeah. Just like my house.
Yeah.
certain people get drawn to this room for different reasons, and just like the rest of the house. But it's really a matter of the group. It's so fascinating how certain groups, things happen in different places. And it depends on who's with you and what they've gone through and things like that. Like I think there's connections. Like there's a similarity where they feel like they know you for whatever reasons, for age or race or what you've been through and they've been through and things like that.
House, but it's so much it can grow as a tree or a vine.
Yeah.
Or they shape it back, shape it back to where it's just one or grow like a tree, but it's small like that. Well, it could very well be that just grew up there after, but yeah.
All right, we're actually walking toward this strange stone formation here at Thornhaven. Nobody really seems to know what the purpose of it is. I would like to state that we've already had some strange things happening to not our equipment, but I've had two of our investigators that was wearing necklaces. They got the necklaces broke and fell to the ground for no reason.
They were blessed necklaces too.
Yeah.
This stone formation is similar to some that I've seen before, whereas they didn't really want to mark graves for the ones that I've seen before, but they would take and they would stack stones so that they would know that people were buried here. But it's a curiosity. I mean, we don't know for sure if there's a grave here or not. It could possibly be a grave of a child, maybe. And there is a tree that's not extremely old that's growing out toward it here, and the stones seem to be pointing toward the east. So we're going to try a little segment here and see if we can try to find out what this is. Like it's been disturbed a bit down in this area. I mean, the dirt is very loose on it.
I think they just found it, cleaned it up this week. And they found it all kinds of stuff.
So the state that is 71.5 degrees here, 0 megagauss. I just dropped down to 71 degrees. We dropped a half a degree. Is there any presence here that would like to make itself be known? Can you please do so now? Ladies are making a noise. Store. Moving an object. Can you state your name, please? Or can you touch one of us? My meter is dying. Full battery, and it's going dead already. Is that you? If that's you, flash these lights for me on this meter if you can. Would you be willing to do that? The temperature staying steady at 71. It's actually raising now. Is there anybody here at all? Anybody that can tell me what these stones are all about? Obviously. Zoo.
If this is somebody's final resting place, can you tell us what your name is? Don't be afraid of us.
If you were to walk up and touch this antenna, you can make these lights light up. See, like I'm doing right here. don't think they'll leave anything out. Okay, it's now recording. I hold a red light in my hand. If you wish, I would like for you to speak into this box, if you're here. Can you tell me what your name is? You'd be able to show yourself. Are you one of the servants? Are you one of the servants? Are you one of the servants here?
Oh, I seen it floating on the camera. Mm-hmm. Not with my naked eye, but I saw it with my naked eye, but I saw it with my naked eye, but I saw it with did you? There's something like floating around by that stool with the ball on it.
You want to play with that ball?
Play with it. That'll stay there for you. Lizzie, are you up here with us? You want to play ball? You knock it off the chair, we'll roll it back to you. Something's come on.
I really would wish that you would go over toward that teddy bear if you would, please. It'd be really cool.
That teddy bear's never been anywhere else. You'll be the first one to play with it and touch it.
It's like the stage that I leave my EVP recorder down. So any noise you may have heard from that was me actually laying it down. Okay. Hello? We're in the main foyer. Just walk in. And we're doing a spirit box session. Is there anybody here that would like to speak with us? Anybody here at all? If there's somebody here, can you tell me your name, please? Can you tell me your name, please? Can you try that once again? We're listening. That was very hard to understand.
Emily, do you guys know that? Emily, do you guys know that? Emily, do you guys know that?
Did you hear Emily?
It's I thought I heard about
You say your name's Emily? No. Do you know Emily?
Is Amelia here?
Is there any men here?
Mr. Bailey, are you here with us this evening? Someone please come forward and speak with us.
Please what? Can you say it again?
Help me.
Help you.
Help me.
Help you.
Help me.
Help you. Her too, help me. How can we help you? How can we help you? Can you tell us?
We can't help you unless you tell us what you need.
How can we help you?
What's wrong?
How can we help you? We don't know how to help you.
Is that you on the floor?
Are you in some sort of danger?
Is someone keeping you here against your will? Is someone keeping you here against your will?
Can you leave here?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Where do you go to? Can you tell me that?
Are you the one that poisoned Mr. Bailey and his family? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you tell us why you did that?
Why did you do that?
We didn't get you in trouble or anything.
He was weak.
Nice and weak.
Did you not like him?
See a house?
Yeah.
Did you want the house from him? Did you poison him to get the property in the house?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, it's really cool that you're coming to speak with us. Is this your house?
Do you consider this your property, your home?
Is there anyone else here with you?
Is the other person a woman? Possibly Emily? Or Amelia?
Is your wife here with you? Is she here with you? Is she the one asking for help? Are you keeping her here against her will?
You know, you're talking to us through the lights too.
Yeah. Right
Yep,
there, you got it.
right there. You got it.
Thank you very much.
It's really cool of you.
I really appreciate that.
Steve just came in. Would you like to talk to Steve?
Yeah.
Talk to you. Dylan said it was a man, and that is the one that poisoned Mr. Bailey, and his wife, Mr. Lipton. Oh, they both want help. And yes, he can live here. Like that's where he went, to prison.
Frank, is that you? Frank Thurman, are you here?
Is the person that keeps asking for help still here?
Can someone still, can you please step back up to the box to make the siren go off, so we know that you're listening to us? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, will you please step away so we can talk to you some more? I want to ask you a few questions. Thank you. It's very hard to understand you at the moment. You have to try a little harder, please. If you went to prison, are you still in prison? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah?
Are you in prison here?
Are you tired of me asking you all these questions? No, please.
We'll try to help you if we can. Just gotta talk to us. Talk to us. Talk to us.
Scared.
Scared? What are you afraid of?
There's nothing to be afraid of.
You don't have to leave if you don't want to. This is your home.
Steve's not gonna make you leave or let anybody else make you leave.
Have to. Yeah.
Have to.
Someone.
Who's making you?
they making you leave as in stop talking to us?
Who's trying to make you leave? What is that?
Is that you talking?
Yeah, were you just talking?
I heard, yeah, I heard.
I heard a woman's voice. Almost like you sing.
Yeah. Could you sing that song for us again, please?
And somebody else in the room with you. Yes. Who was that again?
Said Catherine.
Okay, Catherine, can you step back from that box if it's you?
Catherine Winters, is that you?
I heard yes.
Are you the one asking for help?
I think so.
Catherine Winters, if that's you, you need to let me know loudly or succinctly that that's you, because a lot of people want to know where you are. Are you trapped? If that's you, Catherine, how old are you?
Plus, light.
Said what?
The light?
The light?
Yeah.
If you need help, you need to tell us how we can help you.
Did something happen to you?
Did someone do something to you?
exactly happened to you? You know?
The Great Flood of March 1913 affected the states of Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana with vengeance. Newcastle, Indiana was paralyzed by the worst natural disaster it had ever witnessed. Damage to the city was estimated at $2 million, and a local police officer and 2-year-old boy lost their lives to the storms. The rain started in Newcastle on March 20th, 1913. Earlier that morning, before the storms had started, 9-year-old Catherine Winters left her home to play with her friend Helen Stretch and sell sewing needles for a church charity. She was to be home by 11 for lunch. Catherine, dressed in a black and white dress, red sweater coat, and a straw hat, was out of school that day due to a measles outbreak in the community. She was seen and spoke to by a family friend around noon on the town square near her home and reportedly seen in the yard at her home about 12:15. However, Catherine's mother reported that she never made it home for lunch. Catherine Winters was never seen or heard from again. When Catherine didn't come home for lunch, her stepmother Bird phoned her husband at his dental office. He reportedly went home immediately and began to search for his daughter, but her disappearance was not reported to the police until the next day. Dr. Winters believed that a band of gypsies had taken his daughter. The town was a regular stopping point on their route to water horses, and they had stopped there earlier that day. Someone in the community had reported seeing Catherine near them. The gypsies were tracked down, but Catherine was not among them. However, there was word of another wagon that had left the band earlier, and he would continue to look for them. Several well-known investigators, private detectives, and even gunfighter-turned-lawman Bat Masterson was brought in to find Catherine. One theory was that relatives of Catherine's biological mother, Etta, who had passed in 1909 of tuberculosis in a Colorado Springs sanitarium, had kidnapped her for the insurance money. Others thought she had been taken by a stranger who had tried to abduct 2 other young girls shortly before Catherine's disappearance. The case seemed to die down with no leads, and then in May of 1914, Dr. Winters, his wife Bird, and William Ross Cooper were charged in the case. William was a one-armed telegraph operator who had been a boarder at the Winters home during the time that Catherine had disappeared. He was reportedly thrown out of the family's home shortly after her disappearance by Bird Winters for getting the good doctor drunk. The only physical evidence ever found in the case was a red sweater, a red hair ribbon, and a man's undershirt stained with blood. The doctor and Mrs. Winters both gave contradicting stories of why these items were found, hid under dirt and cement, in a concrete block, and behind a basement wall in their home. The theory behind the charges was that Mrs. Winters and Mr. Cooper were having an affair, and that Catherine had somehow found out about it. The two had murdered her to keep her quiet, and Mr. Winters had evidently found out about it and kept their secret for reasons unknown. Charges against the 3 were dropped the very day that they were to go to court due to insufficient evidence, but the original prosecutor in the case continued to believe that Dr. Winters had not told everything that he knew. Dr. Winters continued to search for his daughter for the rest of his life, spending some $50,000 and leaving his dental practice to fall apart. He commissioned a short film, and he and Bird traveled across the country as it was shown in theaters. Many of the ways that he had used to try to find his daughter are actually still used today. At least 70 newspapers across the country offered rewards for information to find Catherine. Thousands of hours were worked by hundreds of people. 2 songs were even wrote locally about her disappearance. Yet to this day, over 100 years later, no one knows what happened to Catherine Winters.